I'm reporting on the book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. It's by the author Rebecca Skloot. I chose to read this book because it touches on issues of race, class, education, poverty, trauma, loss, and medical ethics and privacy issues, power, powerlessness, and especially trauma. And I wanted to understand how to write a book that encompasses so many issues that are complex and that are personal and intimate and private. And I wanted to understand how to weave together stories and narratives in a way that engages a reader, but also addresses serious social issues. From a gender perspective, there are issues related to objectification of women. So you have Henrietta Lacks. She's a 30-year-old African-American woman who has cervical cancer. And doctors take a slice of cells from her cervix, send them down to the hall to a research lab where they start using those cells for scientific research and discover that they're immortal and very valuable from a scientific or medical perspective in terms of research. And yet no one tells Henrietta Lacks or her family members that this research is going on, that her cells are alive and being used for all of these different purposes. I guess that would be like the ultimate objectification of a woman using her body without her consent or knowledge. Henrietta's sister told Skloot, "What really would upset Henrietta is the fact that Dr. Guy never told the family anything. We didn't know nothing about those cells and he didn't care. That just rubbed us the wrong way. I just kept asking everybody, why didn't they say anything to the family? They knew how to contact us." I think another issue that is a thread in the book or a theme in the book is just violence against women. So is it violence against Henrietta Lacks to take her cells without her knowledge and use them for science? Some people would say yes, that constitutes violence because it's done without her consent. And then she has daughters, and there are themes running through the book about the violence these daughters experience in society. Young Black girls who are subjected to abuse. One is sent to an institution where she suffers abuse and violence. And this theme running through the book of just the powerlessness of these women and girls in this part of society, in contrast to these very powerful scientists and medical doctors and researchers who ultimately are making millions, if not billions of dollars off of the cells of Henrietta Lacks. And yet this family is really suffering and experiencing so much social violence and family violence and institutional violence. I think a third issue related to gender relates to visibility or invisibility. Again, we were talking earlier about the fact that Henrietta Lacks becomes invisible. The name of the cells are HeLa cells. They take the first two letters of her first name and the first two letters of her last name and call them HeLa cells. They don't even acknowledge her name or her contribution to science until much later, when there's an article published that uses her real name. And then there's this kind of expose of the fact that her cells are being used for scientific research. And then just the invisibility of her family members, her daughters, and how they have to fight to even learn anything about what's happening with their mother's cells and what this all means. So I do think that that issue of visibility and invisibility is another thread throughout the book. Another theme in the book is just the profound mistrust that African-American patients had for the medical system, including Henrietta Lacks' family. And this is based on historic evidence that doctors and researchers had experimented on Black individuals without their consent and in ways that harmed them. And the writer really weaves this theme throughout the entire book as an issue of race and class and medical ethics. And there's another aspect of the book that I found really interesting and fascinating was the way the writer became part of the story. And in the beginning, it felt like she was just doing reporting work. But then as we begin to be introduced to different characters and we begin to understand how resistant these individuals were to having anyone talk to them or report on their life, It became very interesting to see how the writer had to build trust and develop trust with family members and bring them into her research process so that her reporting actually involved other individuals as well, especially Henrietta Lacks's daughter, Deborah. And this became a theme throughout the book, too, was just how do you earn trust with individuals that you're writing about? And when is it appropriate for the writer to be in the book as opposed to just an observer or providing an objective lens on a story? And Skloot really did an amazing job, I think, of being able to be part of the book without making it about herself. It was much more about these delicate relationships that she was building with different characters that she was writing about, and honoring them and validating them and vindicating them. And again, visibility is such a key issue and theme in this book, where these individuals had been erased by doctors in the medical world and scientists. What is really moving about the way the author wrote the book is that she develops this bond with Henrietta Lacks's daughter, Deborah, and takes her with her to do her reporting and uncovers pieces of the story with support and help from Henrietta Lacks's daughter. And the way that the daughter sort of is able to process this trauma of what happened to her mother and also her little sister, and then feel vindicated or validated or visible, maybe. So there's a line in the book which is really lovely, where Deborah is with Skloot, the writer, and she's going around telling everyone they've just been to this institution where her little sister had been kept. And she has a new photograph of her little sister, and she's going around telling everyone she runs into in the bank and the gas station and on the street, "Hi, my name's Deborah, and this is my reporter. You probably heard of us. My mom is in history with the cells, and we just found this picture of my sister." And it's so beautiful because she's able to claim her life, and she's able to feel that her life has value, and her mother's life has value, and her sister's life has value. And I found that to be one of the most moving parts of the book, was the way that the writer was able to do that.